How is everybody doing today? Welcome here to episode 1 of the JustBallin podcast. So yeah, my name is Matthew Geist. I am creating a NBA podcast that I'll be uploading once a week. It will either be on Monday morning or Sunday afternoon. I believe episode 1 you guys will see on Sunday afternoon. And yeah, it's just going to be mainly an NBA podcast. I've always wanted to do one. This is just going to be pretty much for fun. And yeah, I can just talk about it. There's a lot of NBA podcasts out there. There's a lot. Either it's through The Athletic, ESPN, Bleacher Report, CBS. There's just countless NBA podcasts out there. So I know there's a lot, and you might not want to listen to mine, which is cool. But yeah, I'm just going to be doing this for fun. Me personally, I'm a big fan of the Thinking Basketball podcast. I really only listen to a couple. The Zach Lowe podcast, Thinking Basketball by Ben Taylor, the Dunked On podcast, and I think Nate Duncan and John Hollinger, who's the creator of the Player Efficiency Rating, PER, they're creating one over on The Athletic. Or I don't know if it's directly through The Athletic. And then I usually listen to Keith Smarts on Real GM. So yeah, those are pretty much the podcasts I listen to. But yeah, I'm just going to be creating my podcast here today. We have actually a long episode. I don't know how long these are going to usually go. I think it's just going to be, I'm going to talk about my topics. Either they could be 30 minutes long or it could be 2 hours long. Whenever we finish is when we finish. So yeah, today's one might be a little bit longer. There's 6 specific, subjects that I want to talk about. This is mainly going to be predictions and just, scenarios I think that will happen this year type of podcast going into the 2019-20 season. And then podcast following this could be just rumors that have circulated, injuries, how teams have been playing and stuff like that. So yeah, we have 6 contents here in our table of contents. We have conference predictions, award predictions, coaches that I think could be fired by the end of the year, players that could be traded, all-star predictions, and conference finals / NBA finals predictions. So yeah, if you guys maybe have somebody that you would like to see a guest on the show, I'd be cool with that. But yeah, for this one, it's just going to be a solo one. And yeah, I guess we can get into this. I'm going to start off with the Western Conference predictions. We are going to be, I have 1 through 15 now. Predictions are just, they're never usually right, especially when it comes to something as unpredictable as the NBA. So, when I say a team that I think is going to be the 1 seed, there's a good chance they might not be. There's a good chance this 2 seed I say or the 3 seed I say could be the 1 seed. And these aren't a rankings of who I think are the best teams, just kind of some players with injury concerns, couple of load management games that might be taken out. Obviously, that'll be pretty involved in the LA teams like the Clippers and Lakers. I don't think Kawhi, LeBron, George, Davis, they're all going to play 82 games apiece this year. So don't take these too seriously. This is just what I think will happen. Some of these will be right. Some of these will be wrong. And yeah, we can start off with the Western Conference Finals prediction. So yeah, my number 1 seed that I think will be there by the end of the year. And also, sorry for interrupting myself, but I will have a timestamps in the description if you want to skip to any of these sections. So yeah, I do think the Western Conference regular season title will go to the Denver Nuggets this year. The reason is that they're young. That's kind of like what my mindset is. They were really good last year. Obviously, they were the 2 seed last year behind the Golden State Warriors, and I think they brought their team back this year. They're going to be getting Michael Porter Jr. back, which is going to be interesting to see. I don't know how much involved he'll be in the offense, at least to start the year. I don't think he'll be that heavily involved, but he will be a nice addition, at least to the bench. I don't see him starting that many games this year, if any. And then they also did trade for Jeremy Grant. That was kind of like their biggest offseason move, besides giving Jamal Murray a 5-year extension. But yeah, Jeremy Grant will be a nice addition to pair up with Nikola Jokic. I do think in crunch time minutes, he might be the 4 that they go with over Paul Millsap. We'll see if Paul Millsap is a big regression candidate this year, going into, I believe, his age 35 season. I could be wrong. But yeah, I think he's on the decline. He is currently 30, he's 34, so he'll be turning 35 this year. And yeah, I think Jeremy Grant is going to be a really big piece for them this year, and I think he was definitely worth the first round pick, which will be in the 20s anyway. He posted career highs in points last year, in rebounds and assists. He shot 39% from 3, which is really good for a 6'9" forward. If you even look into his per 36, they were really good. His per 100 possession defensive rating was a 108, which is really solid. He had a positive VORP. He had positive box plus minus, defensive box plus minus. He did have a negative offensive box plus minus, but I don't really think that was more to do with him. I just think that's just kind of how the Thunder ended up throughout the year, and he just mainly wasn't that focused in the offense, obviously with Paul George and Russell Westbrook. But yeah, so we have a lot to talk about today, so I'm not going to go too in-depth on every team, but I'll just give you guys a little bit or a couple reasons why I think their teams will be where they are. So the 2 seed, I do have the LA Clippers. Now the Clippers are going to miss Paul George for first couple games of the year. I don't know. I think it's around like 2 weeks or something like that he'll be missing. But this team is still insanely talented. Kawhi Leonard, obviously, their biggest addition, and then Paul George, their second biggest addition. Guys like JaMychal Green, Patrick Beverley, Montrezl Harrell, Landry Shamet are going to be so important for them this year. As a whole, I do think that they're going to be definitely a 50-win plus team. I do think they'll be the 2 seed, and I don't think load management will affect them too much. But yeah, there is a chance the Clippers could be the 1 seed. They could be the 4 seed. I'm just going to predict them as a 2 seed. Because why not? Now, going into the 3 seed, I do have the Houston Rockets, mainly because, like I said a couple times, that load management could come in play to some of these teams. I don't think that's going to happen with the Rockets. As long as Harden and Westbrook stay healthy, they're both going to play 100% every night, every regular season game. You know James Harden is going to be playing for his MVP season again this year. He had arguably one of the greatest offensive seasons of all time last year. I don't think he's going to replicate those numbers this year, but I still think it'll be a really good season for James Harden. And then obviously the addition of Russell Westbrook will help. I don't think it's going to be too catastrophic that a lot of people might think they might collapse. It just might be a lot of arguments. I know Zach Lowe in his wild 30 predictions to start the year that I think Harden or Westbrook could be involved in trade talks. I think that was Zach Lowe's article. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. So yeah, I just think they're going to play 100% every night. Eric Gordon obviously is a really good piece for them. They did lose Gerald Green, which hurts, but I think Clint Capella will have a solid year, and I do think they'll be the 3 seed. Now moving on to the 4 seed, we have the Utah Jazz. The Jazz had arguably the greatest offseason. No, that is a really poor choice of words. They had a really good, really great offseason. They added Bojan Bogdanovic. They added Mike Conley. Wow, I'm really sorry for butchering all those words. But yeah, they had a really good offseason. I think they'll play really good throughout the regular season. I do think they could contend as the best defensive team in the league with Conley, who they traded for, Mitchell, Joe Ingles. Bojan's a really good defender, but Rudy Gobert, obviously, arguably the greatest. Why do I keep saying greatest? Arguably the best defender in the league. And yeah, I think they'll be a 4 seed. Lakers are going to be my 5th seed. Reason is I don't think LeBron or AD play more than 70 games this year. I don't think AD could have an injury. He's had a lot of injuries before in the past. I don't think he's had a season where he's played. He's only had 2 seasons where he's played over 70 games, and that was his age 23-24 season. He played 75. I could see him playing around 68 to 73 this year because he played 64, 67, 68, 61. 75, and then 56 last year. Obviously, he would have played more last year if he did. Requested trade mid-season, which I hate when players do. They should just wait till the end of the year. But obviously, they wanted to forward the thing to LA. But yeah, I just don't think LeBron and AD play more than 75 games or 70 games. Well, I guess they could play more than 70 games. I just don't think they each hit 75. And that's the main reason, but they'll be the 5 seed, but I think they'll obviously save what they got for the playoffs. I do think the 6th seed in the Western Conference will be the Portland Trailblazers. People say they sleep on them every year, so I'm not going to say that. I just think that they're a playoff team. Definitely, they got better in the offseason. They didn't get worse. It just depends, I guess, when Nurkic comes back. Hopefully, it's sooner than later. I don't know how much guys like Nazir Little and Anthony Simons will be for them this year. I do think Simons will have a good year. He was my breakout pick on my main channel video for them. And I do think he'll have a nice sophomore year this year. So, yeah, they'll be my 6th seed. I have the Warriors as my 7th seed. Now, I don't really know what to expect from the Warriors. So, I'm not for sure that they'll make the playoffs this year. I'm not super confident on that. But I do think it's hard to bet against Steph Curry. It's hard to bet against, I guess, Steve Kerr for what he's done so far. Maybe he's an overrated head coach, but I don't know. GMs don't think that because they actually, I think, voted him in that poll. At least he got a couple votes as one of the best coaches in the league. Draymond Green, D'Lo, obviously, is a cool addition for them. I don't know how he'll be implemented, but I think he'll play mostly every game this year. So when Curry's out, he'll be in. But yeah, their bench is really weak. Guys like Marquise Chris are going to have to step up for them. We'll see what Kevon Looney will do. I know Cauley Stein is probably going to miss the month of October and possibly the month of November, which isn't that good. And we'll see if like rookies like Jordan Poole or Eric Paschal will be able to step up for them. Moving on to the final seed in the Western Conference, I do have the San Antonio Spurs. No, I'm not like the Warriors. I'm not super confident they'll make the playoffs this year. Obviously, they'll be getting DeJounte Murray back. DeMar DeRozan will have another year. Well, he's going to go into his 2nd year under Greg Popovich, so I do think he'll play better this year than last year. We'll see if Aldridge hits a regression point at this or at the point of the year. He's been pretty steady the last couple of years. He'll be going into his 34, or he just turned 34, excuse me. I don't know. I still think he'll be another solid year. I don't think he'll. I don't know if he'll eclipse 20 points a game, but I definitely think he could still average 16 plus, and that's pretty much what they need. But yeah, they have Murray. We'll see who's going to be getting majority of their center minutes. I guess it's going to be Jakob Poeltl. I don't think he's that good so far, so hopefully we do see a better year from Jakob this year. And then obviously they have guys like Derek White, Bryn Forbes, Lonnie Walker, Keldon Johnson. So yeah, they got a lot of guys in the wing department. We'll see how that works out. Now I do have the Kings at the 9th seed, unfortunately missing the playoffs. I don't know. I want them to make the playoffs. I don't know what the Buddy Hield situation is going to end up turning into. But I do think Bagley is going to have a really good sophomore year. I do think Fox is going to continue to improve as a player. Bagley arguably, or not Bagley, excuse me, Buddy Hield being arguably one of the best shooters in the NBA efficiently too. Bagley had, I think, a pretty under-the-radar rookie year because his name wasn't Trae Young or Luka Doncic. But yeah, I think he'll have a good sophomore year. And yeah, I do think the Kings can make the playoffs, but I have them as my 9th seed, but it's just a seed. I don't think they're going to actually be the 9th seed. They could be the 10, they could be the 8, who knows. I do have the Dallas Mavericks as my 10th seed. I just don't think I don't know. I'm not really too high on Kristaps this year. I think he'll need at least till the All-Star break to get, eased back in. Look at Cousins, look at Hayward. I know ACL is different from Achilles and ankle, but I just don't think he'll be what he was in New York right away. I do think it'll take him some time to get adjusted to the NBA again. And I just think, after that, you're relying on a sophomore season of Luka Doncic to take you to the playoffs in a loaded Western Conference. I just don't see it. I know a lot of people think they will make the playoffs. They might, but I do think Luka, I don't want to spoil anything, but I do think Luka will have a really good year. I just don't think they'll be making the playoffs. Moving on to the 11th team, we have the Thunder. Thunder are weird. In the Eastern Conference, I think they would definitely be a playoff team. They have a lot of good NBA players. Maybe not great, but good. You have Gallinari, you have Adams, you have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you have Chris Paul, you have Dennis Schroeder. I mean, these aren't players that are going to set the world on fire, but they're definitely players you would want on your team. Maybe not Chris Paul. But I do think we'll see another big year from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander off his rookie year. Obviously, he was playing behind Patrick Beverley last year. So, I don't know. I think he will actually have a really good sophomore year, and I hope we see 30 minutes at least from him this year, because his per 36 numbers were pretty solid last year. Basketball Reference has him projecting about 15 points a game. Per 36, I do think he'll do a little bit better than that. So, yeah, moving on to the 12th seed with the Minnesota Timberwolves. As much as I think Cat is going to take another step, and I think he will, I just don't think it's going to lead them to a playoff appearance in a loaded Western Conference. They're just not deep enough, really, after Towns. Who you rely on to give you... If Towns, let's say he's in foul trouble in the fourth quarter, he's got to miss the first 6 minutes of the quarter, something like that. Who do you trust with the ball in your hands? Wiggins? I don't think a lot of people trust Wiggins at all. He's been pretty bad in the preseason. Do you trust a rookie Jarrett Culver? We'll see. He's going to have to step up right away for them. Rocco will be nice, but Rocco is not really the type of ISO scorer you would need or ball dominant player. I just think they lack the talent around him. I really wanted them to go hard after D'Lo. Maybe they tried, but they just couldn't get it done salary-wise. So, yeah, them is the 12th seed. But, 13th seed in the Western Conference, I do have the New Orleans Pelicans. I do think they're a good team. A lot of people, I think it was Candace Parker, when I was watching the Knicks-Pelicans game, she actually predicted them to make the playoffs. I just don't think Zion plays more than 60 games this year. I really don't. There was an article in The Athletic over the summer that had they talked about his knees and how playing in the summer league would hurt, and I know Mike Krzyzewski at Duke didn't like him playing in the summer league either, but you know what? I don't think that's really the Pelicans' fault. He didn't play too much in the summer league anyway. He looked great in the preseason. He's a phenomenal player. Just if these knee things are going to be an issue for him, I don't know. He's going to have to lose weight if he wants to play 80 games in a season. And I don't know. I think Jrue Holiday will be good, but I just don't like the fit with Brandon Ingram in that offense. We'll see what Lonzo can do. He still looks what we know Lonzo will do. Good passer, good defender. Pretty much a below-average shooter on most nights. I just don't think they'll be that good this year. But the Western Conference is loaded, so most of these teams I think could have been playoff teams in the Eastern Conference. That's why I kind of want a 1-16 playoff seeding, but that is a different story for a different day. I do have the Western Conference wrapping out with the Suns at 14 and Grizzlies at 15. The Suns are good. I take that back. The Suns aren't that good, but they have cool players. Like DeAndre Ayton, you guys have heard from me. I think he'll have a really good sophomore year, playing with a lot. I think offensive-minded head coach in Monty Williams, and then Devin Booker, obviously, is Devin Booker. He's really good at a 22-year-old. He'll be turning 23 very soon. But yeah, he averaged 26 points a game last year on a true shooting percentage of 58%, which is really good for a guard. So we'll see what happens this year with the addition of Ricky Rubio. And then I do have the Grizzlies wrapping out the Western Conference. They'll be fun. John Morant, Triple J, Brandon Clark. I just don't think they just lack NBA talent, which you would need to be good in the Western Conference. All right, so I'm going to probably go through the Eastern Conference a little bit quicker. There isn't a lot to talk about. But yeah, this seeding's hard once you get kind of past the top 2 seeds. So actually, I do think the Philadelphia 76ers are going to win the Eastern Conference regular season title this year. I just think their offense, 1-5, their starting lineup is the best in the Eastern Conference. I would rather have their starting 5, but obviously there's a lot more than just a starting 5 in the NBA. Their bench is pretty weak. If we don't see really, well, Matisse Thybulle had a really good, or Matisse Thybulle, I should say, had a really good preseason, and he'll be a good defender, but I don't think he'll be too much on the offensive end this year. We'll see what Zaire can do for the Sixers in his rookie season. Not expecting much from a second-year rookie, especially in Zaire. I didn't like him too much coming out of, I believe, Texas Tech. I didn't, but I believe it was Texas Tech. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what we'll get out of Philly this year. But I do think they'll win the Eastern Conference. The Milwaukee Bucks, I have as the 2 seed. They also could win the Eastern Conference. Obviously, they have arguably the best player in the NBA in Giannis Antetokounmpo. He'll have another monster season. I think we'll still see solid seasons out of Chris Middleton and out of Eric Bledsoe. I think we'll see another good year out of Brook Lopez, and I do think we'll see a little bit of aggression from George Hill and Robin Lopez though this year. So yeah, I have them as the 2 seed. As the 3 seed, I do have the Boston Celtics. This is where it gets tough. You could have a plethora of teams here at the 3 seed. I did choose the Boston Celtics because of coach. I do think that Dwayne Casey, Brad Stevens is the best coach left in this Eastern Conference, maybe besides Eric Spoelstra. But yeah, I do think coaching, Kemba Walker, I think Jason Tatum is a very good player, and I think he'll have a really good third season in the NBA. Their bigs is very questionable. We'll see if maybe we'll get a little bit of Grant Williams, Robert Williams combo in the fourth quarter. I don't know if how Enes Kanter is going to do. I really don't, because he actually wasn't that bad for Portland. But defensively for the Knicks, he was pretty horrendous, and we know what he was in OKC. So I don't really know what we're going to get out of Boston. I have him as the 3 seed, but they could be the 5. They could be the 2 for all we know. I don't know. So the 4 seed, I do have the Indiana Pacers. I do think even with the Oladipo injury, they're really good. Like, they're really good just overall. Like, they added Jeremy Lamb. They added TJ Warren for basically nothing for TJ Warren's aspect or sake. They did add Malcolm Brogdon in a sign-and trade, which I think is a really good pickup. He'll be their point guard. Him and Oladipo, I think, are going to be a nasty, duo, defensively at least. I think offensively they'll be fine. We'll see what they do with Sabonis. We'll talk about him a little bit more later. I do think we'll see another good year of Miles Turner. He could be definitely considered for Defensive Player of the Year. Like I said, we'll also talk about that later. I think we'll see a good season from Aaron Holiday as the backup guard because he'll be getting a lot more minutes this year because Darren Collison retired. Corey Joseph signed with the Sacramento Kings. So yeah, I do have the Pacers as the 4 seed. I don't think Nate McMillan's a bad coach whatsoever. I think he's a good coach. He was a coach you would want on your team. I don't know if he's a championship winning coach, but I have him leading the Pacers to a 4 seed. Now, the 5 seed, I do have the Toronto Raptors. With the Raptors, they did obviously lose Kawhi Leonard, but we'll see if Pascal Siakam can emerge as the number 1 there. He definitely showed signs of that last year. He just got that major extension. I believe it was 4 years, 130 mil. I believe it was 130 mil. I could have been wrong. I think it was 130 mil. And yeah, I think OG Anunoby's going to have a good breakout season for them, starting at the 3. And then obviously they've vets like Kyle Lowry, Serge Ibaka, and Marcus Gasol that will just be smart guys for them, smart basketball players. But obviously for Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, they're going to take the next step as the future of the Toronto Raptors. While some of these old heads are going to be wrapping up their careers. But yeah, I think Nick Nurse, really good head coach. We saw that last year. I have them as the 5th seed. Now it gets tough. These are just, you can pick them. Like, I don't know. The Heat as the 6th seed. I really don't know what we're going to get out of the Miami Heat. They have a really good head coach in Eric Spoelstra. Who just got an extension, I believe, in the offseason. They did pick up, obviously, Jimmy Butler. They did draft Tyler Herro. I'm predicting a really good year from Bam Adebayo. He's somebody I think that will take a next step this year. Point Winslow, I'm excited to see. We'll see if he starts officially over Goran Dragic. Kendrick Nunn looked really good in the Summer League. So did, Summer League preseason, I meant. And Tyler Herro, I don't think he'll start for them this year. Maybe he will at some point, but yeah, Deion Waiters actually just got suspended for a little bit, at least for opening night. So maybe he will start a couple games. Maybe he will start opening night. I think he'll be good for them. I don't think he'll win Rookie of the Year. But yeah, I do have the Heat as the 6th seed. The Nets are my 7th seeded pick. They could be as high as the 4th seed, even the 3 seed. Who knows? I just don't know how the Kyrie-led Nets will go this year. Obviously, a good coach like the rest of these teams. They do have their superstar in Kyrie Irving this year. Obviously, they'll be better next year with Kevin Durant. We'll see hopefully a full healthy year of Karis LeVert. I don't want to see DeAndre Jordan starting. Hopefully, Jared Allen starts sooner rather than later. And I like Joe Harris. Karooks, I think, will be fun for them this year. Nicholas Claxton looks pretty solid in the preseason, so I have them as the 17. And then wrapping out that, I have the Orlando Magic as the 8th seed. Yeah, I have the Magic making it. A lot of people think they'll be the surprising team. I don't think they'll be. If they're good, I don't think it's that surprising because everybody has them as their team that could surprise everyone. I just don't know what's going to go on with that front court. I really don't, because you got Bamba, who you drafted with the 6th overall pick last year. You got Nikola Vucevic, who was an all-star last year, who just gave a big contract to. And then you have Jonathan Isaac and Aaron Gordon. I guess they're going to mainly play Aaron Gordon at the 3. I don't really like that fit for him. I like him better at the 4, guarding 4s. But Isaac, I think, he was my most improved player pick when I said that on Twitter. Like I said before, we'll talk about that stuff later. And yeah, I'm like Evan Fournier, Terrence Ross, good shooting guards, not great, but they get the job done. They're just solid players. But yeah, DJ Augustine, not really expecting much. Hopefully Markelle Fultz can do something better for them. But yeah, that they are my last playoff team. The Bulls are my 9th seed. I think they definitely could make the playoffs, especially with the jump from Markkanen and LaVine. If LaVine can improve his defense. I love the signing of Satoransky. I think they'll have a lot better of a bench this year with Thad Young, with Kobe White. They'll also have guys like Chandler Hutchinson, who I believe actually was hurt, though. So I don't think he'll be playing to start the season. But then you also have guys off the bench, like I guess Daniel Gafford might get a little bit of minutes. Luke Cornett, Chris Dunn. They're not great, but you know what? They're bench guys. I just really like their top 7. I like Satoransky, LaVine, Porter, Carter Jr., Markkanen, or just flip the last 2 I said, and then you have Thad Young, you have Kobe White off the bench at least. So I like their top 7. I don't mind Chris Dunn off the bench either. So the top 8, I think they're a 9 seed, but I think they definitely could make the playoffs. I have the Pistons at the 10 seed if Blake Griffin gets injured, which he's getting older, and we know he has injury history in the past. I think that would definitely derail their season, because if Blake Griffin gets hurt, who are you trusting with the ball in your hands? Derrick Rose, Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard, Andre Drummond. None of these are flashy picks here. Blake Griffin played 33 games for the Clippers, and then he played a total of 75. He played a total of 58 before last year. He played 75 last year, 58 in 2017-18, 61, 35, 67. I don't know. He's going to be 30 this year, or he's going to be 31, by the end of the year. So yeah, I don't know. I think he's going to miss some time, and I don't really trust anybody else on that Pistons offense to really carry the load with him out. I have the Knicks as the 11th seed. I think they could be a little bit better than this. I think they could be worse. I think they could maybe be as low as the 12th. I don't think about the 13th seed. I think they could be high as the 8th seed, but I don't really expect that. There's going to be a lot of controversy with the Knicks this year because they have 3-point guards that deserve minutes. They have 4 shooting guards that deserve minutes. They have 3 small forwards, 2 power forwards, 2 centers. There's just a lot going on with the Knicks this year. Never really got the Elfrid Payton signing. Never really got the Reggie Bullock signing. I never really got the Marcus Morris signing either. So, I don't know. There's going to be a lot to go on. We'll see what David Fizdale does this year. We'll see if he's actually a good head coach. I have the 12th seed being the Atlanta Hawks. They're just young. That's it. Trae Young, obviously, is the guy to watch. Also, John Collins. And then you have Kevin Huerter coming back for a sophomore year. You have rookies like DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish. Alex Len in there. Jabari Parker. I just don't think that team's talented enough to make the playoffs. But I do think we'll see good progression out of mainly most of the young guys. I have the Wizards as the 13th seed. Actually, I was thinking about this the other day when I was in the gym. Their lineup next year could be really fun if they don't move Bradley Beal. If they get a serviceable power, actually they don't even need a serviceable power forward. They could roll out a Wall, Beal, Hashimura, Burdens, Bryant lineup next year. That's kind of fun, honestly. I think Thomas Bryant's going to take a step this year as a player overall. He was a steal for the Wizards in acquiring him from the Lakers. I think he'll be good for them this year. He'll be the second most impactful player besides Bradley Beal. And yeah, I don't really think they're going to do much outside of those 2 players. And I think Hashimura will hit his, he'll just do what a rookie does. He'll try to do too much. He'll be inefficient, but he'll learn the game. So I have the Wizards at the 13th seed. Hornets at the 14th seed. I went with them over the Cavs, who I have as the 15th seed. I don't know. I just think they have more NBA players. Yes, the Cavs probably have better players, and at least for Kevin Love, Jordan Clarkson, Sexton. But I don't know. It's going to be a crapshoot for either team this year. I think both teams will finish as the two worst teams in the NBA. But yeah, I'm excited to see Sexton and Garland as a backcourt together. I do think Kevin Love will get moved. And for the Hornets, I don't know who I'm excited to see. I guess Rozier could be solid for them. We'll see if he's actually efficient. I do like the addition or at least I like the draft pick of PJ Washington. It wasn't the flashiest pick, but I do think Miles Bridges will improve. But yeah, they're going to be, both these teams are going to be bad this year. Okay, so that'll probably be the longest segment. You just had to talk about 30 teams. So yeah, that was going to go pretty long. So yeah, we're going to talk about next is the award predictions for this year. So obviously all the major awards, and I'll throw executive of the year in there. So for MVP, I'm not going to give kind of a definitive pick. Maybe I'll just say who I think will win it, but I'm just going to have a lot of candidates for these. Or candidates for these. So for MVP, I do have 5 guys down that I think will be in the running for MVP. Obviously, they all have their different circumstances in which their own ways could win MVP. But yeah, so I have Joel Embiid as the first guy. I do think there's a good chance he could win MVP if he would have to accomplish 2 things. Sixers being the 1 seed, which I definitely think is a possibility, and he would have to play more than 70 games. Now, obviously, with Joel Embiid's health, that has not shown, or he has not proven that he could do that, as he has played 3 years in the NBA. He's played 31 games, 63 and 64. So if I think he can play 6, 7, 8 more games this year, I think he could be MVP. But obviously, when you get voted for MVP, if you miss some time, it hurts. Look at Christian Yelich in baseball. He was going to be MVP, and then he got hurt for just like the last month. Or Mike Trout was front runner MVP, and he missed the last like 3 weeks of the regular season. And people already want to put Alex Bregman over him. So obviously, his health is the main thing, I guess, holding him back. Other guy is Nikola Jokic. I did predict the Nuggets to be the 1 seed and the Sixers to be the 1 seed. So if you're the 1 seed, usually the best player on the best team wins MVP. We saw it with the Rockets 2 years ago. We saw it with Giannis last year. If the Nuggets are the 1 seed in the Western Conference, I think Jokic is obviously going to have another monster year. He'll be in that combo. Giannis, obviously, if the Bucks are one of the best teams in the NBA again, he puts up these monster stat lines. He'll be in that combo. Other pick is Anthony Davis. That's if the Lakers are a 1 or a 2 seed. I think he'll definitely get more votes over LeBron just because I think he'll play more games and he'll have a better season than LeBron. And then the last pick is James Harden. That's if the Rockets are a 1 or 2 seed and he puts up what he did last year. So yeah, we just went through MVP there. For Rookie of the Year, my pick was John Morant. I also think Zion and RJ will be in the combo. Zion, the thing holding him back is his health. We'll see how many games he plays. If he doesn't play more than 60, I don't think he'll win the award. RJ Barrett, he'll get a lot of minutes in New York, so we'll see how efficient he is with those minutes. And then I threw Tyler Herro in there, but I don't really think he'll win Rookie of the Year. Moving on to Defensive Player of the Year, we do have Rudy Gobert. Obviously, he'll be the main pick for everyone. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year already. And yeah, had to throw him in there. Giannis, I think he deserved it last year, but I didn't think voters were going to give him MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, so I'm going to throw him in there. Also threw Miles Turner in there. He could lead the league in shots or block shots. He's a good rim protector. He's a fairly solid perimeter defender too for a big. He's good in the pick and roll switches. And then my last pick is Pascal Siakam. He showed that he was a good defender last year. We'll see if he can take a next step as a defender this year. The last guys I thrown here are kind of just throw-ins that I think maybe could be in the conversation. So, 6th man of the year, another one that there's an obvious pick, Lou Will. Besides Lou Will, I threw Jeremy Lamb. I do think he'll start the season, but when Oladipo comes back, he'll move to the bench. Also have JJ Redick here, and Marcus Smart, if Jaylen Brown gets the starting minutes over him. Moving on to most improved player, we do have Jonathan Isaac, Anthony Simons, Lauri Markkanen, TJ Warren, and Adebayo. Isaac was actually my pick that I tweeted on Twitter. I do think he'll have a really good year. Do I think he's going to be the front runner? I don't know. I honestly, I'd rather take the field instead of just Isaac. Anthony Simons, that's if he really shows out this year, but with guys like Lillard, Hood, McCollum, Nurkic eventually, I don't think he's going to get enough volume to win the award fully, but I do think he'll be one of the more improved players just individually. Markkanen, I do think Markkanen can take a next step, but if Levine is kind of the primary ball handler, taking the most shots on the team, then I don't think Markkanen will win the award. TJ Ward is another pick because with Oladipo hurt, who's going to be their number 1 scorer? Is it going to be Brogdon? I don't know. Is it going to be Sabonis, Ward? Is it going to be Jeremy Lamb that I just mentioned? But I do think TJ Warren could have a good year, and maybe he could win Most Improved. And then my last pick was Bam Adebayo, who I'm high on a lot. I'm very high on this year for the Miami Heat. I think will be really good for them. Coach of the Year, I have 5 picks or 5 coaches that I think could win the award. Malone of the Nuggets. Brett Brown of the Sixers, Mike Budenholzer of the Bucks, Doc Rivers of the Clippers, and then Quinn Snyder of the Jazz. These are all self-explanatory. If they're one of the better teams in the league, if they dealt with adversity, with injuries, stuff like that, they'll be in the convo. And then executive of the year, I have Lawrence Frank / Michael Winger of the LA Clippers, Elton Brand of the Sixers, and Dennis Lindsey of the Utah Jazz. So those are my award kind of predictions, who's going to be in each combo for that. So we can move on here to coaches that I think could be fired by the end of the year. I do have a list of 5 potential head coaches that are on the hot seat, potentially. Start off as David Fizdale. Yeah, I don't want to put him here, but you just kind of have to with New York head coaches. If the Knicks underperform this year, if they win possibly less than 26 games, 25 games, if there is a lot of, I guess, just controversy in the locker room, and he just really doesn't get the rotations right this year, I think the Knicks can possibly move on from him. Wouldn't be surprised. But I do like the way Scott Perry and Steve Mills are building this team. And speaking of Scott Brooks, he's my next pick. I do think he'll get fired by the end of this year. I don't think the Wizards are going to be good. I think they're going to look for a fresher face in Washington, or maybe there'll be a better head coach on the market that they could go after. Maybe if they like Dave Yorger or somebody like that. Third is Billy Donovan of the Thunder. If the Thunder underperform and they're like the 13th or 14th seed in the Western Conference or 12th seed, I think he could be fired. It is a new era there. They might go for a younger head coach to build up some of the younger players eventually, and because they have all these draft picks coming up, and I don't think Billy Donovan will really suit that team. Jim Boylan is my 4th coach here that could be possibly fired. Obviously, the word that I keep using is if they underperform, if just Markkanen doesn't take the next step in his progression, if Carter Jr. doesn't take a next step in his progression, I do think he could get fired. I know he did get an extension, but that doesn't really mean anything in the coaching carousel. And then Alvin Gentry is my 5th head coach. The Pelicans just don't live up to what their hype is. I don't think that they will. I think he was supposed to get fired last year, but the Zion thing kind of helped. And then obviously they were going to move Anthony Davis for assets, so they wanted to give him just a new chance to run this pace and space, run and gun offense. But yeah, I think if the Pelicans obviously miss out on the playoffs, not a lot going for them in this season specifically, I think he could get fired. I don't think all these coaches will get fired. I just think these are the guys that will be on the hot seat by the end of the year. I guess you could also throw in like Frank Vogel as well. So yeah, now I'm going to talk about 7 players that I think could get possibly traded by the end of the year. So to start off with this list, we do have a couple guys from the 2016 draft class that might not get their rookie extension. So Buddy Hield is the first guy. He expressed his frustration over the Kings offered to him, and maybe he will request a trade, but these guys are restricted, so they can sign with any teams they want in the offseason. Their teams can choose to match, but hey, they're not going to pay him in the regular season. What makes you think that they're going to pay him in the offseason? Second one is Domantas Sabonis. I think this one's kind of a given now. Apparently the Pacers are looking for offers, as The Athletic reported, so I think he will get moved this year. Bradley Beal, also you have to throw in Bradley Beal in these talks, but the contract extension, I don't think he'll get moved. I don't know if he could actually get moved this year with the new contract extension. If you have to wait like 6 months or something like that, but that would put you past the trade deadline. But hey, that just could happen at the beginning of the offseason. Jaylen Brown is the 4th one. If the Celtics and him just don't see eye to eye on a contract extension, he could get possibly moved. Blake Griffin, if the Pistons are underperforming and they think a team could throw them a very nice package, but it will be hard to move his salary. Next one is Kevin Love, kind of same as Blake Griffin. It's going to be hard to move his salary, and I don't know. Is Kevin Love really worth taking on his contract at this point and giving up maybe future assets like a young player and a first-round pick? I don't think so. He's 31. He just turned 31. I don't know. He wasn't good last year in the 22 games he played. So we'll see if he can have a bounce-back season this year. And then the 7th one is a bunch. It's just any Knicks player on a one-year deal. Bobby Portis, Marcus Morris, possibly even Dennis Smith Jr. or Frank Ntilikina. Wade Ellington, Alfred Payton, and Taj Gibson. I think one of these guys could go by the end of the year. So, next we're going to talk about my All-Star predictions, who I think will make each All-Star game. All right, guys, so my All-Star predictions, we can start off with the Western Conference All-Star predictions and my point guard, or we can just do the starting 5. So I have Steph Curry, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, and Nikola Jokic. Don't really need to speak a lot about these guys. It's obviously them playing well in popularity. So I think they will start, and then I think 3 giving off the bench. I don't know. It's tough. In the Western Conference because it's so loaded. But I have Damian Lillard. I have Russell Westbrook. I have Anthony Davis, Karl-Anthony Towns, Paul George. And the remaining 2 spots, or the remaining, 2 spots, it's tough. You could pick 2 between CJ McCollum, Devin Booker, Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, Luka Doncic. I do think Luka will get in. I think he'll be the best player on the Mavs team, and I think popularity will go a long way. And I do think they're going to have to give a Jazz player. If the Jazz are maybe a top 3 seed at that time or just a top 4 seed in the Western Conference, they're going to have to give either Mitchell, Conley, Gobert. And I think, I don't know, it'll be either Mitchell or Gobert, I think. So yeah, those are my Western Conference All-Star predictions. Obviously, Paul George being hurt for a little bit of the year could hurt that chance. We'll see maybe if Cat gets in if the Timberwolves are pretty bad. Moving over to the Eastern Conference, I think the starting 5 will be Kyrie Irving, Bradley Beal, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Pascal Siakam, Joel Embiid. With the bench being Kemba Walker, Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, Blake Griffin, Chris Middleton, or Eric Bledsoe. One of the Bucks players probably be Chris Middleton. And then, yeah, there's a lot that I think could get the last spot, and that's either Zach LaVine, Trae Young, Lauri Markkanen, Julius Randle, Miles Turner, maybe an Orlando Magic like an Aaron Gordon or Nikola Vucevic. I don't know if Oladipo will be healthy for a long enough time span to get into the All-Star game. But yeah, those are my All-Star picks. They don't really go too, like, they don't mean too much. Because the All-Star kind of has dimmed its value over the years. It's more if you make an All-NBA team, that's kind of more impressive if you made an All-Star game because popularity does go a long way. But if you're obviously Steph Curry and you're a 10-time All-Star, obviously he deserved pretty much all those All-Star appearances. So yeah, that is going to wrap up my All-Star predictions. We'll get into the final segment, and that is going to be my conference finals/finals prediction. So it's tough predicting what's going to happen in the Western Conference finals, but for the Eastern Conference, it's fairly easy. I do have the Bucks and the Sixers meeting in the conference finals. I think they are the 2 clear best teams in the Eastern Conference, and I think they'll meet each other at the conference finals, 1 and 2 seed. And then for the Western Conference Finals, I did kind of the obvious pick. Then it's not a fun pick. I made it a Los Angeles, a Staples Center conference finals with Lakers and Clippers. I do have the Clippers beating the Lakers in 7. I think it'll be a competitive series. I do think the Clippers are the better team, though. And I do have the 76ers beating the Bucks in 7. Then maybe Giannis wouldn't sign the contract extension, and yeah, they'll freak out. And then I do have the Clippers over the Sixers in 6 in the finals, and Kawhi Leonard winning back-to-back finals and being back-to-back finals MVP. Wait, was he finals MVP last year? I think he was. I could be wrong, but I think he was. So yeah, that is actually going to wrap out the podcast. I kind of talked a lot more, I guess, about the conference predictions, and then the award predictions, and then I went through coaches that could be fired, players that could be traded, Western All-Stars, Eastern All-Stars, and then conference finals and finals predictions. So yeah, that is going to wrap it up for episode 1 of the Just Ballin podcast. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you maybe want to see a guest on it, or you just like hearing me talk? I think this was fun. I do plan on doing once a week, obviously talking about rumors, talking about players struggling, players performing well, teams struggling, teams overperforming, or just performing well in general. And yeah, that just maybe China stuff, all that will be talked about in the next podcast. And we'll talk about, obviously, the first week of the NBA because it starts on Tuesday, which is hype. So, yeah, that is going to wrap it up for me. I hope you guys did enjoy the first episode of the Just Ballin podcast. Appreciate you guys for listening, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.